Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about our experience at the Storytellers Cafe in the Grand Californian. Let's go ahead and get into it. Hey friends, my name's Corina. I'm a wife and a mama to two little ones, and we love taking you guys along on our adventures to Disneyland in California. Our most recent trip we went on was during Christmas time, and what we did was we actually did 2 days in the parks, and then we had one day where we spent a ton of time at downtown Disney, and we had our first ever character breakfast experience. So I will have all the vlogs for our trip that have already come out listed down below so you guys can check them out if you're interested. But today I want to do a little review and kind of share with you guys all about Storytellers Cafe, especially if you have young kids. Now, honestly, we've gone to Disneyland several times, and like I said, this was our very first character meal. And the reason for that is because I was always a little hesitant to try a character meal based on how my kids eat. My kids are very picky and they don't eat a lot. I mean, they're 3 and 5. So honestly, I don't know of really any kid who eats a ton that would be like worth it for a buffet. But obviously with the characters, that is really what drives the price and the motivation for attending a meal like this. Now, we decided to go ahead and give the character breakfast a try for this trip because we were doing fewer park days than normal. And honestly, I will say, spoiler alert, it was 100% worth it. Now, how do I get to that conclusion? Let's talk all about the details of Storytellers and all about our experience having brunch there as a family of 5. So Storytellers Cafe is located in the Grand Californian, so you do enter into the Grand Californian in order to reach the restaurant. It's kind of tucked in there, but you can go ahead and ask anyone for directions or guidance. There's also signs posted to kind of guide you to the restaurant itself. And let me tell you about our experience. Now, Storytellers is open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They're also open for brunch. However, there are only characters at breakfast and brunch. And our family chose to go at brunch, which I will get into once I go over all the details. But one thing to know is that this experience is a pricey one. It's not quite as pricey as the princess breakfast, but for an adult ticket, it is between $50 and $60. On the website right now, it has listed $52 to $60, and then kids are anywhere from $31 to $35. Now, that pricing is really just dependent on the time of the year, the season, things like that. And I will say that when we arrived at Storytellers, what we did was we checked in at the little stand right outside, and basically they had cast members standing right outside of the doors of the restaurant, and they were taking people's names and information as they walked up for their reservation. This is a restaurant that you do want to get a reservation for, especially for character dining, so make sure that you do that ahead of time before you plan to visit the parks. Otherwise, you may not actually be able to partake in the character dining. So I went up to the host and I basically said, "Hi, we're here for our reservation." We had actually booked a party of 6, but we ended up being a party of 5. And that party of 5 was myself, my husband, our 2 kiddos who are 5 and 3, and my dad. And so we had 3 adults and 2 kids. When I gave her my name and told her our party size, she asked me if we had any kids dining that were 3 and under. And I told her, yes, one of them is 3. So I will come back to that later because that was an important detail. But when we planned to have this character meal, we knew that I took into consideration the cost for the meal and took that into consideration for our trip budget overall, and we wanted to treat our family to this meal. So my aunt was going to join us, but she ended up not being able to, so we did treat my dad as well. So once we put in our name, they basically asked us to wait. Outside there's tons of benches, there's like stroller parking, so we parked our stroller off to the side, and then we just sat on the bench, and honestly, I think I sat down and I was sitting for like a minute and they called our name. So getting into the restaurant and getting like into your reservation is really quick and easy. We did arrive about 15 minutes before our actual reservation, and we just kind of took our time walking through the Grand Californian, and we had plenty of time before our actual reservation time to check in. So that was really nice. I would definitely just make sure to give yourself some time ahead of your reservation, just in case. You never know what could go wrong, or how many stops you need to make to the bathroom with little ones or anything like that. So give yourself some time to get there. There's plenty to see and do. And I will say, as we were waiting for a reservation on that bench, the Princess Breakfast, which is at Napa Rose, which is also at the Grand Californian, was a little bit further like down kind of the breezeway. And the princesses were actually walking back and forth. So that was amazing for my little princess loving daughter. She was so excited and she was waving at them and saying hello. And they do interact with you, but they just tell you, oh, like I'm on my way and I have to run basically. But they do say good morning and they do smile and say hi and all of that. So it's very cute to kind of get double dip on the character interaction. Okay, so once they called our party, they went ahead and ushered us inside and showed us to our table. We were actually in a booth in the corner, and my husband said he did not love it, but I actually really liked being in the booth. It gave us a really good vantage point of the whole restaurant, and it also gave us plenty of room to spread out, which I always prefer with kids. So it gave us plenty of room to, like, you know, if they wanted to color, we had space to do that. And of course, I always have my diaper bag with me, so I was able to put that down on the bench as well. And we had plenty of space to spread out and have our plates and all of that. And then the thing that they did not really explain is, like, once you're seated, you can go ahead and grab your food. But we kind of waited a couple minutes to wait to basically be dismissed, because I wasn't totally sure. And so we did have a waiter come over and he said, oh, you guys can go ahead and grab some food if you'd like in the buffet lines. Those are open to you and we'll come back around and get your drink ordered. So we went ahead and split up. My husband took my son and I had my daughter, and then my dad was kind of doing his own thing. And we each went ahead and started to grab food. And once we came back to our table, a waitress did come by and she was like our waiter assigned to us, and went ahead and got our drink orders. And so we ordered round of waters, of course. I think my dad got coffee. And then for the kids, we wanted hot chocolate. I always say this, hot chocolate milk. That's what my kids call hot chocolate. So we ordered hot chocolate for the kiddos. And then I think my husband and I just got like juice or something. I can't remember. So for my kids' waters, they did bring water cups that had a lid and a straw, which was really nice. And they brought them their hot chocolate. So let me talk about the food really quick. And I specifically chose to go at brunch, and I'm so glad that we did. And the reason that I chose Storytellers over Goofy's Kitchen, which is another character meal that is down at the Disneyland Hotel, is because I wanted a wider variety of foods. And what I've heard about Goofy's Kitchen is that it's food that's like geared towards kids, but knowing my kids, knowing that they really aren't going to eat very much, I wanted food that was geared towards adults. So with going at brunch, we had options for both breakfast and lunch. So they had carved meats, they had pizza, which was great because that's what my son wanted. They had chicken tenders and french fries. They had these beautiful salads that had tons of toppings. And I remember there was one that was like pear and like walnut. It looked amazing. There was one that was like cranberry and oranges and just amazing. So fresh and like really inviting looking. But like I said, they had the carved meat section. They had tons of fruit. And so we did get lots of fruit to eat, which was great. But on the breakfast side, they have waffles. They have an egg station where you can request to make omelets. I did get an omelet and also scrambled eggs for my little one because she loves scrambled eggs. And they, of course, have all of your kind of standard breakfast meats, bacon and sausage. They also had chilaquiles, and they had huevos rancheros. So if you're interested in either of those options, those were available too. And they kind of just rotate things out. They also had these really amazing breakfast potatoes. So tons of variety, tons of options. They had yogurt. They even had small boxes of cereal. If your kiddo is pretty picky and just wants cereal for breakfast, they could totally have that. So I thought they had a lot of good options and a lot of variety for any kind of palate and kind of whatever you wanted to try. And then they also had lots of desserts. So that was really fun. My kids got like cupcakes and little macaroon cookies. Macarons? I always get confused. Macarons. The little sandwich cookies that are like different colors. They had some other like just specialty, really cool like Disney desserts and things like that. So many food options. They had Mickey waffles, which I was really excited about. And just really a ton of options. So many things available. And then, like I said, your waiter just got your order for your drinks, and they were really quick with getting like your plates cleared as you were kind of finishing that particular plate that you had. But I noticed that as I was standing there at the omelet station, like getting my eggs made, that they replenish the food often. So there's always people like replenishing the food, giving, putting out like fresh options and things like that. And they did change out some of the options. So the one that I noticed the most was that they swapped chilaquiles and huevos rancheros, just depending on the servings. So once one was done, they would bring in the other one and then they would switch it out. And so that gives you a lot of opportunities to try different things as well. So overall, tons of options, so many good things for honestly everyone to have something that they would like and enjoy. And it was really delicious. I will say the food was super good. We were all so satisfied and it was just great food. So overall, I was really happy. And I'll be honest, I'm not a buffet person. I really don't like buffets because I feel like they can be kind of stale and like old and just kind of like thrown out there. But that was not the case with this. Again, everything was fresh. There was tons of people working behind the line to get you fresh food out and just replenish all those options, including desserts and things like that. Okay, let's talk about the character interactions, because when you look at the description for Storytellers, it states that Mickey and his friends will kind of walk around and do like kind of like a parade around the room while you're eating. It doesn't say that they will stop and take pictures and interact with you, but that's what they do. So throughout different points of the breakfast, you'll hear the music come on and there's basically an announcement that says Mickey and his friends are going to take a lap around the room, or whatever it is that they say. It's cuter than that, but you know what I mean. So they'll play music and Mickey and his buddies will come out and do like a little parade kind of around the whole room, waving to people and saying hi and interacting. And then they will go back to the back and basically one or two characters will come out at a time. I think it's probably like one character per side of the room comes out and they interact with each table. They go around, they spend a couple minutes, they take pictures, they do autographs, they interact with you. My husband is great with interacting with the characters, so he had like a lot of that going on. And they really take a lot of time and are very intentional with talking to each kiddo, each family, and every table. And I loved just watching the character interactions. Even, of course, I loved watching it with my kids, but seeing it with other kids as well and other families. They are so specific and in tune with what's going on with each of those families. And they're just so good. Like the interactions are just priceless. And really that's what you're paying for with the character meal. So we arrived at, I want to say 10. I think our reservation was around 10, maybe 10:30. And like I said, they had all those food options available. So tons of variety. And what I will say is that we were there for about an hour and a half. And that was like our choice because within the first probably 40 minutes, we saw all the characters. But what's great is that they just kind of keep coming back around. And they will kind of take your cues as you know, if your kids like perk up and they're like interested in seeing the characters again, they'll stop and interact with you again. But if we were kind of like heads down, like eating, they would just kind of like stop and wave and say hello and then kind of keep going on their way. They wouldn't necessarily like force you to say hi to them or like stop what you're doing. But if, they wanted to make sure that you had that time with the characters, which I really appreciated. There were a couple characters that came by that we were kind of just like so busy eating or just like engaged with each other, and we'd already seen all the characters that we kind of like barely noticed that they were coming by our table until they were like walking away and we'd be like, oh, bye, Chip. So that was really great. We had tons of opportunities to see the characters. And what I loved was that we saw a good variety. Now, with each of the different character meals, they kind of highlight different characters. So Storytellers Cafe is Mickey's character meal. So if you want to see Mickey, you have to go to Storytellers for a character meal. Obviously, you can see him in the parks as well. But if you specifically want a character meal experience with Mickey, it is at Storytellers. So he will be at Storytellers. He is the highlight. He is the host. So that's really important to know. Along with him can be Pluto, Chip, Dale, Minnie. I think that's who we saw. So we saw the 5 of them. So if you do want to see Goofy for a character meal, he is at Goofy's Kitchen in the Disneyland Hotel. So please make a note of that. Like, he's not going to be at Mickey's. He could appear, but it's not likely. And again, same thing with Mickey being at Goofy's Kitchen. He really doesn't go there because that's not his character meal. So keep that in mind when you're looking at different character meals to book. If you want to see a specific character at that meal, just keep in mind where they could be and where it's likely for them to be. Now, I will say I was really surprised to see Minnie at Storytellers because I thought it was primarily Mickey, Chip and Dale, and Pluto. And so when Minnie came out, I was so thrilled because my daughter loves Minnie. And so that was really exciting and just like a little bonus. But again, none of the characters are guaranteed aside from that main headliner. So it's basically whoever has availability will be at that particular time. So who you see is always kind of a toss-up, and it's kind of a surprise, which is kind of fun. Now, one thing to note about Storytellers is that they are dressed up in like their little explorer outfits, and they are so stinking cute. So Minnie looks like she just came in from like catching butterflies. Mickey looks like he's leading the group with his little explorer outfit. Chip and Dale have like the cutest little vests on, and they also have these adorable little hats. And the great thing about Chip and Dale's hat is that they actually have a little card in their hat that has their name on it. So if you're like me and you can never tell Chip from Dale or Dale from Chip, they have their little names on their cards on their hat, which is very handy. So as they're walking up, you can see, oh, hey, Dale, hi, how are you? And you won't, be confused or unsure if you're calling the right chipmunk. Okay, so overall, do I think Storytellers is worth it for little kids? Now, I will say, you guys, my son ate like 2 pieces of pizza. And he was good. And then he had some cookies, and that was pretty much all he wanted. My daughter, on the other hand, loves scrambled eggs. She loves bacon and waffles. And so she was really happy to have all of those breakfast options, and she enjoyed herself fully. And of course, she had lots of treats, cupcakes, and cookies as well. And my husband, my dad, and I loved the spread, and we definitely got our fill of food, and we were very pleased with all of the options that were available. So I think overall, it's definitely worth it. I just think go into it knowing that your kids may not eat a lot because they're excited about the characters and seeing the characters and interacting with them. That food is not going to be the top of their like priority list. And especially if you have picky eaters, they definitely have a lot of options for picky eaters, but just know that like they may not eat a lot. And I know that about my kids, like they're just not going to eat a lot. So we go into it knowing that, and knowing that we're going to get the full experience, and we're not necessarily there for the food. They'll eat whenever, they always have goldfish laying around. So they're always happy with that. Now, let's talk about the price. So like I said, this meal does range from $50 to $60 per adult and $31 to $36 for kids. When we went, again, we had 3 adults and 2 kiddos. And I mentioned this at the beginning. So the host had asked me if I had any kids under the age of 3, and I told her 3 and under. She said specifically 3 and under. And I try to pay really close attention to age limits. So when she said 3 and under, I said, yes, my daughter is 3 years old. And unbeknownst to me, 3-year-olds apparently don't get charged at Storytellers. So she was able to get her own plate and be served and all of that good stuff. But she was not, when we got our bill, we had the 3 adults, we had 1 kid, and then it said 1 under 3, 1 3 and under. And so she was not charged for her meal. Now, again, like I said, she was included on the bill, but she is 3, so they include, I guess 3 and under is free, which was amazing. So that was a really exciting thing to find out, and I was really pleased with that because, again, like, they don't eat very much. I mean, even my 5-year-old doesn't eat much, so that was kind of an exciting thing to know, and I did not realize that about character dining or dining in general. So I don't know if that's the case at all character meals, but it's worth asking, and it's worth finding out. Now, on the website, it does state that kids 3 to 9 are covered under that child's fee of $31 to $35. So I was surprised to find out that my 3-year-old would not be charged. So just a little interesting note. So our total bill came to like just over $200. It was like, I want to say like $202 or something. And then we did leave a tip. So definitely make sure to add in that tip. They do charge gratuity, but I like to just add an extra tip as well. Just, why not? You're at Disney. You're going to pay a lot for anything anyway. So definitely make sure that you tip generously because why not? They're doing a great job and we love the meal. We're very pleased. So that is everything about Storytellers. I do definitely think it's worth it for kiddos and for families. I think it is definitely a splurge So it's not something that we will do every trip, but it is something fun to experience, especially if you're having like limited park days, but you want to still get some of that good character interaction and that fun time with the characters. So highly recommend. And again, I think it was great. And I would also take some time to just explore the Grand Californian itself because there's so much to offer and it's really such a cool hotel. So that's it for today's video, you guys, and my review of Storytellers Cafe. So again, thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you next time. Bye guys.